So what I'm gonna do is split a bunch of stones that I can use for a fireplace and flooring and footings for the cabin and for some of the posts on the outside. So another job, another day. Hey guys, Sean James here. Thanks for tuning in again. It's the end of July now and it's been about 3 weeks since I put out a video. As you know, if you've watched one of my recent videos, I've been building the log cabin in the backyard with some cedar fence posts that I picked up from a family member. And as a result, I haven't been up at the property. It's been really buggy and wet in the bush this summer. So the fact that I was able to keep building without having to endure those conditions, to me was a bit of a bonus. So I finished building the log cabin. I've disassembled it and I've started bringing the logs up. So I'm going to start moving those back into the bush here. I'm going to get this foundation underway. One thing I don't want is too many trees overhanging the cabin. I don't want limbs falling. I don't want too much shade on the cabin. I want to be able to keep it fairly dry. So this spot up here is ideal for that. So I'm going to clear a lot of these trees out. Those two big maples are right where the porch is going to be. This double maple here beside the lantern, so I'm going to cut that down. All good firewood or building materials, so none of it's going to go to waste. And that's the goal today. I'm going to get to work and get that stuff cleared out. So next week I'll be up here actually starting to put the cabin together again. So really looking forward to that. I think probably by the end of August I'll have the whole frame up, the structure itself, and then I can get started on the interior work and the porch and the groundwork here. So. Speaking of the fireside chats, we need something to sit on while we're sitting around talking. So I need to get some benches made up. That branch right there, a big thick branch, it's now a knot. That's like saturated with resin. And I have tons and tons of this this red pine. I'm actually going to make pine tar, putting this resinous wood into a sealed metal container, like a 5-gallon pail, sealed. Put that on a fire with a hole underneath, dripping it into another steel pail. So I'm going to do that soon because I'm going to use that to waterproof some of the foundation logs. So that's the good thing about having access to all this red pine. All that resin in there. Look at that. So I'm just squaring this off a little bit, make it a little more comfortable to sit on. It's going to give this side of each of these two support logs a little bit of a square spot on the bottom, a flat spot, to rest on the ground without rolling away. Easiest way to do that is to cut some notches in. Just take those notches out first, and I can just skin those off. This is good for cross cutting, where that long saw, the big heavy duty English saw, is a cross cut saw that's designed for cross cutting firewood, like hardwood, dry hardwood. So every saw has got a different purpose, and it's usually the teeth that determine what it's good for. This has a pretty well zero curve straight blade, straight teeth. It's good for cross cutting this green softwood, red pine. This is a good position to swing an axe in. If you're splitting or doing work like this that's tiring, like it's tiring me out. It's the 36-inch handled axe. It's a felling axe, 3.5 pound head. And when I'm on my knees like this, it wouldn't matter what I did with this, missed, glance, whatever, there's no way it's coming all the way back to hit me. If anything, it's going to plow into the ground, and might have to sharpen it, but I'm not going to the hospital. No matter what size axe you're using, even with a hatchet, same thing. If you set upright, you can't bury that in your knee. Just going to finish this notch up quickly. It's just basically a saddle notch like the log cabin notch, except I put it in the bottom log. So I don't care if this rots out over time. It's not going to be a big deal to replace it. It's going to be on the ground, kind of rotting anyway. So finish this notch up, and I'll do the same to the other side. Not sure, I got to measure that. I think I can get the other side out of that piece there. And then I'll cut it in half. And I've got my first bench. Oh, perfect. I've never had a bench at one of my camps, actually. Anyway, that's it for this day. I think I'm going to go down and finish unloading all the logs. Bring them at least part way back to the cabin site here, and then call it quits and come back up another day, and that'll be a foundation day, and one day, and then the following day I can actually start laying logs. So it's going to go fast from here. I'm surprised at how low that water is. Let's head up to the pond where the water comes from that feeds that stream. The spring is up there, feeds into the pond at the south end of the property, comes down the east side, and then swings back around the north side. So just a week ago down here on the north side of the property, so downstream, there was tons of water in there. Like the whole stream was actually overflowing, highest I've seen it since we got the property. So I'm not sure why all of a sudden it's that low. So let's go check out that pond. I wonder if a beaver has moved in and shored up that dam, so it's holding back the water. That's also the other cabin site, the cabin that I want you guys to help me out with. So let's look at that site and see what the water level's like right where I want the cabin. So hopefully we can get started on that cabin later this fall, likely, or winter, preferably fall, so we can get the foundation stones down. But nice spot on the pond, so let's go check that out and see if the water levels are going to be suitable for having that cabin so close to it. Alright, so this is the site for cabin number 2. This is the one I'm going to want help on. We're going to make this just a smaller bunkie that overnight guests can stay at. A pretty little spot. There'll be lots of wildlife in here. I can see all kinds of browse around us that the deer and the moose have been feeding on. And there's occasionally beaver in here. You can see the trees that they've cut over the years. But yeah, it's a great spot, beautiful, feel-good spot, and awesome winter site. I like this. Like how the snow settles in here and the pond freezes over, and you can still hear the stream kind of trickling out of the pond. So it's a beautiful little spot. So looking forward to getting some help on this one. If you want to take one of the workshops that we do some shelter building on, this will be part of that workshop. So yeah, I'm happy to see there's lots of water in here still. This is the spring. There's this pond on my property, and then the adjacent property and Crown Land has the pond where the spring actually fills that pond up and then trickles down through here, down through the east side of the property, and then across the north side of the property. So all the vegetation soaking up that water right now, so there's very little flow down below, down by the first cabin, but there's plenty of water up here in this pond. So really like this spot. I hope you get to see it someday, and if not, then stay tuned to the videos, because after I finish the next cabin, we're going to move on to this one. First deer I've seen on the property. Just came out of the low spot by the fairly close to the parking area. Sitting by the fire. This is the fire that you saw me make. I think the first video I filmed here was when I had the wolves wake me up, and I was sleeping right there, and the wolves 4 o'clock in the morning woke me up howling just over in the beaver meadow right there. So I'm sitting by this fire for a reason. I'm going to make this a regular feature. I'll do a weekly fireside chat. I'm not sure when that's going to start up exactly. Probably after I get further into the cabin build. So maybe a month from now I'll start that. But it will be weekly. I'm going to have special guests come up, and we're going to sit around the campfire and just talk about survival, bushcraft, and just general outdoors topics. Get some experts in that know more than I do on specific topics that you might be interested in. So it'd be great if you guys could let me know what you want to hear, what you want us to talk about, and who you would recommend as a special guest to come in and sit around the fire and answer some questions that you might have. So that I'm really looking forward to doing that. I've got some guys in mind, some well-known bushcrafters, some alumni from History's Alone show. Just some really cool guys that are doing something special on either YouTube or just in their general lives that I think you'd be interested in, as I certainly am. So this fire pit is going to shift over a little bit this way. The cabin's going to be on this angle right here, so the front of the porch is actually going to be right on this fire pit. So I need to definitely move the fire pit over into a more central area where we can get a nice view of the cabin as well as the forest surrounding us. So that's where we're going to sit and have these fireside chats. So I hope you'll join me for those. I think you're going to like that. But the exciting thing is that I'm here. I'm going to spend a lot of time here. I'm going to get this cabin up as quickly as I can now that the ground is just about prepared and the cabin's already fabricated. Just have to basically reassemble it and then do finishing touches that I couldn't do at home, like the roof and porch and things like that, and window installation. So I want to address a couple of questions people had. One of the criticisms or questions is, why am I not using power tools? Why don't I just use power and speed up the process? It's tempting. There has been some things I've had to do, like the logs the big logs that I cut. I had to use a four-wheeler. My friend Terry helped me take those out of the bush where I cut them down on his property. And here at the cabin site, you saw me clearing some of the dead trees out with a chainsaw. So other than that, I'm using all hand tools. The reason for that is, of course, it would be quicker and it'd be easier on my body if I use those power tools. But I wanted to do something more traditional. I wanted to do something kind of in the same vein as Dick Prenneke, but also what I did 26 years ago now at my Whitestone Lake property where I built that cabin and that I lived in for a bit. I didn't have access to much money back then. I was young and wasn't working, so it was all about frugality, building that cabin on a budget. So I didn't want to, or didn't have the ability to buy materials or have expensive equipment. So I wanted to redo this basically like that. So if I was dropped off in the middle of the bush with just some tools, some hand tools, could I build myself a cabin? And I know from the past that the answer is yes, but I did have a bit of help. This one I'm building 100% on my own and using hand tools, things that I could use that if I was dropped off or walked back into the bush and need to build a cabin. So it's more in that style. So I get criticisms about the tool select, about not using power tools, but also about the foundation. And you know, it's a valid point. They're saying, what if you're building this thing, do it properly and put a proper foundation in. But you know, Dick Prenneke didn't have access to an excavator or the ability to dig down beyond the permafrost, in his case to bedrock. In my case, the bedrock is down, but it's very uneven, variable, and I don't think I would be able to get anything solid enough. Plus I don't want to use concrete, so even if I got down to that bedrock, then what do? Dry stack stone, but I might as well just level out the ground. Got gravel down by the road. I'm going to hand bomb that in, lay a gravel foundation with some larger rocks on the four corners, as well as a couple in the intermediate sections of the logs, and then in the center, and then the porch. So going to make it as solid as I can, but I do know it's going to move. And one of the beauties of a log cabin is that you're using natural materials and they're dynamic. You can keep fixing them, changing them up, and I think that's one of the coolest things about the cabin build. And I'm just loving getting back into this, working with my hands. I used to be a sheet metal worker up until I was 29, and then in an office, and then into a management position, then started my own companies, of course. So I haven't really been on the tools since when, 1999. So that's what, 18 years ago. Yeah. So it's good to get back into it, get back in shape, get working with the hand tools. But the beauty, it's one thing working with metal, but I've always loved working with wood. I did a lot of carving when I was younger and furniture making. So the beauty of building a log cabin is that it's a natural material. I'm using rock and wood. The wood, rock for foundation and fireplace and some of the flooring, but the wood is something that you can continue to work with in fashion. So to pick up a log and have to look at it and figure out which way it should go, cutting the notch out, avoiding knots and splits, and just trying to make every single piece of that wood work within the cabin, and then knowing that if it doesn't work in the future, I can pull it out and replace it and put something else in its place. So I think that's one of the things I love about working with wood and building a log cabin. It's a craft. You're just it's more artistry than science. So yes, it could be built better, it could be built to code, but that's not what I'm interested in doing. I'm interested in doing a woodworking project. I'm interested in building a shelter that I know I could live in, and that I feel that I'm proud to build by hand. So that's why I'm using hand tools. That's why I'm building this thing alone. You know, everybody's offering to help, and I really appreciate that. And there's lots of things to do on this property, including building some other cabins, but this one is mine. This is the cabin that I'm going to build on my own. And I just don't want to share that process with anybody. It's kind of my legacy, I guess, to myself or to whoever sees it in the future, that I built this cabin all alone. So anyway, hope that answers your questions. Feel free to ask and criticize away. I'll get back to everybody as I can. And as I have these fireside chats, I'll continue to do some alone as well and just answer questions. So check in the future, and thanks again for watching this video. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and I think you're going to be excited about what's coming up. So thanks for sticking around.